Americans for Fair Taxation presents the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, president of Americans for Fair Taxation, and recorded by Bob Paxton, a volunteer with the Florida Fair Tax Educational Association. And now, this week's Chairman's Report.
Hello, I'm Bob Paxton with the AFFT Chairman's Report for Friday, February 4th, 2022. In Tax, We Trust. This is the title of a letter posted by a group of 100 millionaires and billionaires who believe that they, as a group, are not paying enough taxes and want us to know that they really are socially conscious and want to help all of us. Here's the text of that letter. To our fellow millionaires and billionaires, if you're participating in the World Economic Forum's online Davos this January, you're going to be joining an exclusive group of people looking for an answer to the question behind this year's theme. How do we work together and restore trust? Now, you're not going to find the answer in a private forum surrounded by other millionaires and billionaires and the world's most powerful people. If you're paying attention, you'll find that you are part of the problem. Trust in politics, in society, and in one another is not built in tiny side rooms only accessible by the very richest and most powerful. It's not built by billionaire space travelers who make a fortune out of a pandemic but pay almost nothing in taxes and provide poor wages for their workers. Trust is built through accountability, through well-oiled, fair, and open democracies that provide good services and support to all of their citizens. And the bedrock of a strong democracy is a fair tax system. A fair tax system. Now, as millionaires, we know that the current tax system is not fair. Most of us can say that while the world has gone through an immense amount of suffering in the last 2 years, we've actually seen our wealth rise during the pandemic. Yet, few, if any of us, can honestly say that we pay our fair share in taxes. This injustice, baked into the foundation of the international tax system, has created a colossal lack of trust between the people of the world and the elites who are the architects of that system. Bridging that divide is going to take more than billionaire vanity projects or piecemeal philanthropic gestures. It's going to take a complete overhaul of a system that up to now has been deliberately designed to make the rich richer. To put it simply, restoring trust requires taxing the rich. The world and every country in it must demand that the rich pay their fair share. Tax us, the rich, and tax us now. The truth is that Davos doesn't deserve the world's trust right now. For all the countless hours spent talking about making the world a better place, the conference has produced little tangible value amidst a torrent of self-congratulations. Until participants acknowledge the simple, effective solution staring them right in the face, taxing the rich, the people of the world will continue to see their so-called dedication to fixing the world's problems as little more than a performance. History paints a pretty bleak picture of what the endgame of extremely unequal societies looks like. For all our well-being, rich and poor alike, it's time to confront inequality and choose to tax the rich. Show the people of the world that you deserve their trust. If you don't, then all the private talks won't change what's coming. It's taxes or pitchforks. Let's listen to history and choose wisely. Now, just what's missing from this letter? St. Jerome said, "Why don't you practice what you preach?" Now, one interesting point in the letter is that there is no discussion about what these rich people can do on their own without waiting for the government to reform the tax system. If they wanted to, these wealthy signers could just start making donations to the federal government. Now, 26 U.S. Code 170 provides that contributions made to the government for things that benefit the public are deductible as charitable contributions. But of course, if these rich people are sincere and want to really pay more money to the federal government, they should just make the contributions and not deduct them as charitable donations. Then, each $1 million of contribution to the government will not be reduced by $400,000 of income tax savings. Now, of course, also missing from the letter is a description of just how much tax these people are willing to pay. According to Forbes, the wealth of the 400 richest Americans in 2021 was $4.5 trillion. Now, while that's a tremendous amount of money, it represents only 15% of the nearly $30 trillion U.S. national debt. If these wealthy people donated 1/3 of their net worth, $1.5 trillion to the U.S. government, where do they suggest it be spent? It's unlikely that any of these wealthy people have any confidence that the U.S. government bureaucrats will spend the money wisely, and the letter just doesn't address that. Now, it's probably tolerable if you're making $10 million a year and paying $4.2 million in state and federal taxes to pay an additional $800,000 or so. However, what would these wealthy signers think if the federal tax rate on them was increased to 70% or higher? In conclusion, the wealthy people who signed the letter are the same people who live lavish lifestyles and would likely pay far more in federal taxes when the fair tax is enacted. Now, most Americans who have investment assets and want to make a major purchase will have to sell enough of the assets, pay income tax on the gain, and then use the net proceeds to pay for their purchase. Now, these wealthy people who signed this letter probably all used the stratagem used by wealthy people since the start of the federal income tax. They don't sell assets that are increasing in value. Instead, they obtain low interest rate loans on those assets. Then, if the rate of return on their asset exceeds the interest rate on the loan, they essentially have free money to spend as they like. These wealthy people purchase their yachts, luxurious homes, and expensive cars with their loan funds. This allows them to enjoy the lavish lifestyle they crave and pay no income taxes until they eventually sell the assets. Now, once the fair tax is passed, the wealthy will pay federal tax on all of their retail purchases of new goods and services, regardless of where the money came from. They will all be treated like the rest of us. Everyone's treated fairly. What a concept! Now, this change is not popular with the ruling class and its minions in Congress. They're making a lot of money selling special tax benefits to the wealthy, and the fair tax eliminates that lucrative income source. It's time for us to take back control and demand that Congress pass the fair tax. So, what can each of us do? We can write letters and make calls to our elected representatives and attend Zoom town hall meetings demanding that if they really wanted to allow Americans to take back control, the first step is to eliminate the income payroll tax system and enact the fair tax. We should all remember Edmund Burke's warning that applies to our efforts to take back control. Nobody made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. Take back control. Help us pass the fair tax. The IRS will be gone and we'll pay our taxes when we make purchases. We, not the ruling class and their minions in D.C., will decide how much federal tax we pay. We'll know how much tax we're paying because taxes will no longer be hidden from us. It will be clearly shown on every retail receipt. So if you have friends who don't know about the fair tax, send them to fairtax.org. Have them watch the whiteboards under How It Works, and if they agree, ask them to please join us. Then, contact your members of Congress and the President and demand that Congress pass the fair tax, the only truly fair tax.
This has been the Weekly Chairman's Report, written by Steve Hayes, President of Americans for Fair Taxation. Check back every week for news and information about the fair tax and learn why the fair tax should replace our antiquated federal income tax system. If you'd like to receive a copy of the Chairman's Report in your inbox every week, sign up at fairtax.org.